everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are excited to be here with Michael Shirley. He is the Chief Empowerment Officer at Family Pet Health in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Am I saying that right? I'm not saying that right.
You're not saying that right. It's Murfreesboro.
Murfreesboro, I left out a whole. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
That's okay. I butcher the same when I'm trying to pronounce the cities in Wisconsin. I can't do that.
That's too many consonants and too many vowels. We are friends with Michael. I had the pleasure of having him down in Houston last week to talk to the practice managers group here. And I introduced him as a swell guy and everyone laughed. But if you know Michael, I just think he's a genuinely really solid guy. And so I'm happy to have him on the podcast. I'm very excited that he is part of VetMed because I think we need more of these things. And so today we really wanted to focus on your title, this Chief Empowerment Officer. How did you come up with that? What does that mean to live it? And what does that mean for your staff?
Well, I came up with it because I was on another webinar with AHA, was recognized as a veterinary change maker or something like that. And when we were doing the meet and greet with the panelists, they asked us to describe, our role within the vet hospital. And I said, well, I'm not a veterinarian. My wife is the veterinarian and I help her, run her practice. And my job is to hire great people, equip them with the tools that they need to be successful, and then work alongside them to fulfill our practice vision. And I said, I just empower them to do their jobs. And I was like, yeah, I'm the CEO, the Chief Empowerment Officer. And it stuck. So I put it on my business cards, and I may be the only one in the world, but I like it. So
I love it.
Yeah, my background is as a school teacher. So I spent a career in agriculture education and working with students from the 4th through the 12th grade as a 4-H agent and then as an agriculture teacher at the high school level and a FFA advisor. So that's what I did. It's what I do is I like to help other people be the best versions of themselves.
So what does it look like for your team on just a regular daily basis?
At Family Pet Health, we start every morning with our all-team meeting. We do morning rounds together where we start every day by either doing 2-word check-ins where we're just trying to check on everybody. We review our mission statement, our vision statement, our goals for the year, our goals for the quarter. We find if anybody has any successes to share. And then I also I used to be the one that met with everybody, but as our team has continued to grow, we identified people on our team that we put in various leadership positions, and their jobs are to meet with their direct reports weekly, where they're just doing check-ins and things like that. And if sometimes things get to me that there's problems, sometimes, not all the time, because we have systems in place that will allow the issues to be addressed where they're happening, when they're happening, versus me trying to get on my calendar to have me come up with all the solutions. My job is to make sure that our business is creating opportunities for our team to solve problems on their own. And that may require us to have leadership development sessions where we're not talking about vet med, we're talking about leadership skills or personality tests or conflict resolution. So that's what my job is. And that's what it looks like at Family Pet Health.
How can you accomplish that? Or how can the, other colleagues in VetMed accomplish that where we're constantly hearing, how busy everyone is and overworked, and it's real, right? But you've carved out and dedicated time, it sounds like daily, to make sure you're consistently reminding the staff and building up the staff. So is there a formula to that for that, say that solo practitioner?
Yes, because we did it at our practice when it was just my wife and 3 employees. We have started this from the very beginning. I believe in the power of meetings. One thing I'll say about government work was a school teacher at extension agent. We had a lot of meetings, but they weren't always productive. And I think it's not that people hate meetings, they hate unproductive meetings. So as long as your meetings are actually accomplishing things, people get excited about going to them because they know that we're going to spend dedicated time to address problems, we're going to fix them, and then we're going to move on. And it frees up our brains to address the crises that are right in front of our team on a daily basis. So instead of having to fix a problem right in the moment, we may pull out our phone, add it to our issue statement, and everybody knows I don't have to think anymore about that for the next week because we're going to talk about it next week on Monday at Monday's meeting. So when we started out with just my wife and, like I said, 3 team members, we started those days with morning. We had rounds. I don't think we did them every morning at the time, but we had weekly meetings at lunchtime. And I believe that is what allowed us to be successful, was that we dedicated time to address the problems that came up. So yes, I get it. You're busy. And you may say, well, I'm too busy to meet. I think you're too busy not to meet. Like, you have to be just as deliberate about setting aside time to diagnose your business and your team's problems. You have to dedicate that same amount of time that you would for diagnosing your patient's problems. And you can't do a workup with one patient while you're seeing 13 others at the exact same time, right? So you have to stop and say, for this hour, my patient is my business, and I'm going to dedicate the same brain power to address the problems that my business is having as I would a patient that's come in that's sick.
Oh, that's smart. That's powerful. Tell me, you mentioned something about an issue statement, and then we're gonna talk about it later. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the issues list is anytime somebody has a problem, they can put it on the issues list, and that grows each week. And then at our weekly meeting, we look at them and we start solving them. So some meetings we may only solve one issue, and some meetings we might knock out 8. And they're both just as important. Like, both of those meetings can be just as successful. So, and people may say, well, I feel like I've heard this concept somewhere before. There's a book that we follow. It's called Traction. It's the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's written by Gino Wickman, and that's the book that we implemented. We we have a vet student at our office today. Is her second day, and she asked me, she said she wanted to learn about business, and I said, oh, well, let me go get this book for you. And I handed it to her, and I said, this is what we follow here. And we committed to that 3 years ago. It was in 2022 was when we started it, and we met with our whole entire team. And we said, this is what EOS is all about. This is now our standard. This is now the process that we're going to use. And at the end of that weekend, when we talked about EOS, I passed out bus tickets to everybody. And the bus tickets is a concept that I learned in my favorite book called The Energy Bus, and everybody needs to read it. But I passed out those bus tickets to everybody, and I said, look, the Family Pet Health bus is changing routes. We've been on a particular route to this point, and now we are turning and taking a totally different route. And you may not want to go down this route with us. So think about everything you've learned this weekend. And on Monday, if you still want to ride the Family Pet Health Energy Bus, you turn your bus tickets in. And if you don't, then talk to me. I'll give you your severance pay. I'll give you 2 weeks paid, and you can find your next career. And I'm proud to say every single person 3 years ago turned in their bus tickets to stay on our bus. And we've been rocking and rolling since. And now our team has 5 doctors and 26 team members total. And yeah, it's really worked. So I think that is a testimony to the power of meetings and the power of having a clear vision and everybody working towards the same shared vision.
So 5 doctors, 26 in total, in the team, and growing. I would think, based on the amount of time and attention, the voice that you're giving your staff, does that also correlate to retention and just general well-being within the practice?
Absolutely. So we do not have a very high turnover rate. In fact, I would have to really think about when the last time we let somebody go was. Now, it's not to say we don't have turnover. We have healthy turnover, which means that people have come to Family Pet Health and they've grown in their career and they've moved on. And we have celebrated with more people that have left Family Pet Health than, custom as they were getting out the door. So, and Jared, I want to also say, it sounds like it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's not. I mean, like, you're our CPA. We're struggling. Like, we've had some of the worst months here recently that we've ever had. And you said something to my wife and me where you're like, hey, you all have set the framework where we can fix this. And I totally believe in that. Like, we have had open and honest communications with our team about, hey, we got to send some people home this week. And that had never, ever happened before for our practice. And I'm not in a panic mode by any means, but everybody knew, like, they all see the schedule. So, when we talk about, hey, if we can't as a team come up with ways to to fill our schedule, then we're going to have to make some changes. And it's gone over quite well. Like we're coming up with different strategies and different ways to educate our clients so that they're saying yes more often than no. And I think, again, that just having that open and honest communication from the very beginning really helps when you have to have difficult conversations with your team.
But then it must be when you're hiring, right? Because you're clearly looking for that ideal candidate, someone that wants to grow, wants to be a part of something, bigger. What does that interview process look like with Family Pet?
At Family Pet Health, our application is always open. So anytime someone goes to our website, they can scroll down to the very bottom and it says careers, and they click on that careers page and they can apply right then. And it's not a very extensive system. They don't have to upload any documentation. They just fill out their name and contact information. I guess I'll give people, if they're Googling Family Pet Health, that they may come across this webinar here or this podcast here. And I only ask 4 questions, and that tells me a lot about what I need to know about these candidates. So one of them, it just says, tell me why you think you would be a good fit on Team Family Pet Health. What do you already know about Family Pet Health? What do you know about fear-free vet care? Because we're a fear-free certified practice. And the last question is, what's your ideal work schedule? But sometimes people will just answer, like, what do you already know about Family Pet Health? And they'll literally just type in there, not much. And I'm like, really? So, that I'm like, it's all on our website. You can find our whole family history on the website, and goodness gracious, if you'll just Google Family Pet Health or Michael or Amy Shirley, you'll find our podcast and you'll hear our doctors talk and you'll see what we're all about. So that tells me a lot about the candidate. And then why do they think they're a good fit? You just learn a lot about them with just some very small questions. Now, every single person that has ever applied at Family Pet Health, they all get a personal response from me, and they also go into our hiring database. So I keep a list of every single person that has ever applied and for what position they applied. So I have a list. If I have an opening on my CSR team, I can immediately send out an email today to just the people that applied for a CSR position. A few weeks ago, we had a licensed technician that is she's moving down to PRN. So she'll just, when we call her. And I told her that day, I said, I'm so happy that you are a part of our team. I said, please do not be offended at the speed at which I fill your seat on our bus. And I said, and she goes, I totally understand. By the end of the day, I already had 2 interviews set up with licensed technicians. So, and we hired one of those people. So, and both of them laughed because they had both of the people that I scheduled for interviews, they had both recently, like within the past quarter, applied for our office for our team. And I had told both of them that we weren't hiring at the time, but that things could change because we were hoping to add a doctor this year and always looking to grow our team when the time was right. And I said, so if it's not a no forever, it's just a no, not right now. And I responded to both of them and they were super excited. And so now, and the stinky part about that is that I only had one position. I had 2 really great candidates that interviewed. And I told the one that we didn't hire, I said, look, you're done. Like, I'm not even going to post it. I'm just calling you. And like, you have the offer of first refusal because you've already gone through the whole interview process. And you've come in for a working interview and our team loved you. And we think that we would be a really good fit. Unfortunately, I only had one position. And so she's like, yeah, call me. And so I think what was attractive about Family Pet Health to both of them was that it was very easy for them to see what type of work environment they were going to be walking into. It was very clear. Both of them were they only wanted to work at where they could practice fear-free vet care. So that's really super important. Well, it's easy to find that you can practice that way at Family Pet Health. We make it very visible. So I think that it's just another way that your clear vision and intentionality in your hiring practices can make I love hiring people. It can make that an enjoyable experience instead of a dreadful one. One other thing I'll tell you about, I mentioned the energy bus. Before anyone could come in for an in-person interview, they have to read the energy bus. And I tell them that they can stop by our office and take a tour. we'll give them a copy of the Energy Bus. We keep them in stock on our bookshelf in our office library. And I have handed out, he ought to give me a box of free ones. Because John Gordon, if you're listening, send me a box of the Energy Bus book. But if people read that book, it's same thing for our vet students and technician students that are going to rotate through our office. They have to read the Energy Bus before they can start. So the vet student that started yesterday, my wife is home with the flu, so I didn't get to meet her on her first day. But I met with her today and I said, "Did you read the Energy Bus?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's good, because I have made a vet student sit down on the couch in the break room and finish the book before they could start. And they're motivated at that point." So but I always ask them, "Why do you think I made you read that book?" And they always have good answers. It sets clear expectations about what it's like to be a part of family pet health.
I love that. It's like pre-gaming, right? It's homework before you even start.
Yeah. And it saves me, that's part of the hiring process that saves me from wasting my time with people that aren't looking for the same things that we are. Because if they're not going to read the Energy Bus, it literally takes, I think on Audible, it's an hour and a half maybe. It's not that long of a book. If they don't take the time to do that, they're not going to like it on our team anyway.
So as you've grown, as you've developed, as you've changed, are your missions, values, visions still the same, or have you gone back and looked at those?
We did reevaluate them before we moved. I think so the first core values for family pet health were blessing, education, and growth. We wanted to be a blessing to our community and our patients and our team. Education is super important to us, and we wanted to grow. And when I say we was my wife and me, okay? So those were our core values, and we hired around them and we grew our team. But every good organization needs to do self-reflection, see where you're at, do a SWOT analysis, right? And we did the same with our team. And we said, guys, we are going to reevaluate our core values together. I think our team at that point was like 16 or 17. So we had grown from 3 to 16. And I said, it is time for us to refocus and make sure that what we said were important to us is actually important to us. And what I ended up doing, this is a good exercise for anyone that doesn't have buy-in from your team on your core values. Here's what you should do. This is what we did. We took one of those little Post-it notes, like the big ones, the easel size that you put on the wall, and I put every individual's name on one piece of paper. And we all started at different papers. And so everyone was standing looking at a poster that had another one of their team members' names. So I might say, okay, I'm at Megan's. And my question was, what is it that makes this person a special member of the family pet health team? What do they do better than anybody else? And I might say for Megan, I might say like cheerful, right? And so I might put that on your name. And for Jared, I might say attention to detail, right? Like those are both very important things in my life, like for me personally, right? And so we go around the room, and if we start to see certain things on a bunch of different people's posters, that's a good indication that's a core value for our business. Or they might say like friendly. Well, what does that mean? Oh, that means that whenever they come in, every single person on our CSR team is so friendly. Everybody puts friendly or smiling or happy. And we're like, oh, that's experience. For family pet health, that's what experience was. We had a team member named Yusuf, and people wouldn't request a doctor. They requested Yusuf, the veterinary assistant. That's who they wanted. They're like, I don't care who the doctor is, but I have to have Yusuf as my veterinary assistant. And that is something that we saw along with like cheerful CSRs, and doctors were always a team player. It was experience. We wanted everyone to have a good experience when they come to family pet health. That is one of our core values, is experience. Positivity is another one. Connection is a core value for family pet health. And the last one is trust. So we have experience, positivity, education, connection, and trust. Those are our new core values. So we didn't take anything away. Blessing, education, and growth, still there. Now we just added to it and refined it a little bit. So that was a super easy way to define what your core values are for your culture and for your practice. And that's something everybody could do tomorrow.
We all should, right?
I think so. I mean, if I challenge people, we talk about marketing. It's super easy. Like when I talk about family pet health, I can tell them that stuff without worrying about they actually come to my office and experience something differently, because then I become a liar, right? I don't have to worry about telling people to come to Family Pet Health that we're fear-free and then worry that they're going to see somebody or see 5 people holding down a dog to trim his toenails. Like that, it's not going to happen. So it makes it easy for me to market to attract my ideal customer. So and our CSRs, for example, you didn't hear affordability. That's bad. That makes it sound like I'm not affordable, but that's not a driving force for us like it is for the low-cost spay-neuter clinic down the street, right? Those are 2 different core values. So theirs might be access to care as a core value, where mine is like, I want everybody to have care, but I have a very expensive people that I'm paying for over here. And so I got to pay for it. So and they might have an endowment where I have to, where I don't have that money to help. So those core values are different. But so when we're talking about a client, when they call and they say, how much is it to have my dog spayed at your practice? I'll say, hey, before we get into that, because that's actually not just a black or white answer, may I ask you a question? Is price your determining factor for where you're going to book this appointment? And if they say yes, I can say, hey, we're not the cheapest in town. Let me save you a lot of time. I'm going to give you 3 phone numbers to call. I heard our team have that conversation with someone today. They found a dog and they were like, they were trying to find the cheapest place to get it looked at and get its shots. Well, we're not the cheapest place. That's fine. They still have a positive experience with Family Pet Health because we helped them. It's kind of like remember the movie Miracle on 34th Street where the Santa Claus got in trouble for like sending people to the other department store? It's kind of the same thing. Like I'm never going to get mad at my team members for helping a price shopper find what they're actually looking for. And if they say, well, gosh, no, I just, price isn't my only factor. I just didn't know what else to ask. I'm like, oh, well, let me talk to you about let me tell you as you call around, let me tell you some questions that you should ask so that you're comparing apples to apples as you call around to look for vet care. And by the way, we offer free tours at our office that you can schedule anytime. We would be happy to show you around and show you the difference Family Pet Health has to offer.
So smart, saving everyone time and like all being on the same path, right?
Yeah. Yep. Because those clients don't come in and then become a big time suck for us because they were looking for something we didn't offer.
Right. Or leave angry or all of those things.
Or and then heaven forbid, go to Google and leave a 1-star review that I have to, and then all my team read the 1-star review and get really upset. And then they start talking about it with each other. I can't believe. And so you tell I've experienced this before, right? So you can avoid some of those issues by, again, going back to clarity of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish.
Such a timely message. It really is. Especially, I feel like the current climate is so disruptive where, the growth's not there, margin compression. You need to hone in on everything you just talked about to solidify the team, to reduce the turnover. And it's not just solidifying the team. You're even, boosting client experience and growing revenue because of everything you just talked about and mentioned.
I think the analogy you used was like, we just need to start refining which levers we're going to pull to affect that number, that revenue goal. Because as a business owner, I can get bogged down in the numbers, but my clients don't care about my financial numbers. They care about their financial numbers and they care about their pet. So what we talk about is let's look at our messaging. Okay, first off, we need to concentrate not on getting new clients in because we have to start building trust with them from the very beginning. What we need to focus on is refining our message for the clients that already trust us. So nobody has ever accused my team that I know of being all about the money. But if they got me in a room and started talking, they might accuse me of being about the money because I got to make sure everybody gets paid. So, but I'm like, why didn't this person, Megan, she loves her pet. We know she loves her cat. Why did she decline that dental procedure that our doctor said she needed to have done for her cat? So that's where, when I talk about like my role, that's what I'm looking at, big picture things. Let me look at our client education, our branding, our messaging that we use in the exam rooms. And I'm like, this is what we have to fix. And then I come up with some ideas and I bring that to my leadership team who helps me refine them. My wife was the one that told me, Michael, you're never going to motivate our team by talking about pay raises and stuff. It's like or revenue. Like how you're going to motivate them is talking about patient care because that's why they're in this business. They're worried about their patients. And I say, well, that's true. What's good for the patient is good for the business. So where I can stress out with you as my CPAs about the business side of things. What I have to stress out with my team about is, why aren't we getting this patient care compliance? These pets are suffering because they're not getting this dental procedure that we can do for them. What are we going to do? And what our team came up with was, we were actually padding all of our estimates to account for extraction time. And I think Megan was the one that told me, Michael, you got to stage all that stuff. You're scaring them away. And I said, oh yeah, you're right. So we actually lowered the price of our proactive dental, like our core dental package. And then we put in fine print, but we do talk about it. They have to initial it, that says if they can't be reached, they'll pre-approve up to an extra $350 for extractions. But if our doctors don't think that they can do it and stay on schedule, then we stage it. And so we're already seeing compliance for core dentistry going up. So that's the kind of thing that you just have to think about, the way you're framing these different issues that you're having in your practice. And that's why our leadership team is made up of different people. They're not all just like me. My wife is as opposite of me as you could probably find. Okay. It works for us. It works for our marriage, and it works for our business. Like, if I didn't have her holding me back and providing a voice of reason, I would probably be dead by now, because I would have jumped off that cliff because it looked like fun, so this, think about that in your veterinary team. Like, what is the diversity of your team? Like, and not just like, people hear diversity right now. It's a hot topic, like thinking about race. I'm not talking about race. I'm just talking about background, like experiences, personalities. Race is certainly one of those things. Gender is one of those things. Like, all of those things are, when we have a diverse teams are better teams, because you can make decisions based on a variety of experiences and backgrounds. And guess what? All of my clients are not the same either. So we need to think about that, because we're taking care of people's pets, and people are people, and they're all a little different. So, it's good if we can think about that when we're making decisions for our future of our practices.
I feel like you imparted so many wisdom nuggets for us. This is like a jam-packed.
I'm the clean version of Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Yeah. So and honestly, these are not my ideas. Like, I don't think I'm a thought leader or anything, right? Like, I'm not coming up with new earth-shattering ideas for vet med. What I'm really doing is implementing ideas that are proven effective in other industries, like education and stuff, and putting those to work in our office. And the other thing is, like, I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a licensed technician. I'm not even a very good veterinary assistant. So but I am a pet owner, and I'm a consumer. And I think of delivering veterinary care from a consumer's perspective versus the practitioner's perspective, because whether people like to admit it or not, we're not in the veterinary business. We're in the customer service business. We just happen to do customer service through veterinary care.
Very smart. Where can people find you? Where, if people want to follow up and keep picking your brain for get a copy of your book, The Energy Balance.
I wish I had written that book, but yeah, go. So there's two places that I would tell people to go. The easiest way to find me is just go to familypethealth.com. You can find us there. We even have our own little podcast you can find us at. The other place that I would encourage people to find me is on Facebook at the Veterinary Leadership Book Club. So it's VLBC, Veterinary Leadership Book Club. We're about to start our, 20-something book together. We started this group in 2020, and it's absolutely crazy because I don't even like to read, and I'm in charge of a book club. So that's kind of weird, but it's been a lot of fun. And a lot of the things that we talked about today are concepts that I've learned in the various books that we've read together in the Veterinary Leadership Book Club. But yeah, find me at familypethealth.com, and from there you can find everything else you need to know about me.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, guys.